Cool. Okay. So let's go over on to animation because that's going to take us a little while. Okay, so we have this here. So let's go over animating something. So what we want to do is let's go back into our prefabs on our prototyping. And let's drag out a little 2x2 cube. So I'm going to sort of snap it down a little bit. Maybe snap it like that. Drag it towards the middle. So I'm going to quickly show you how to do this. So if you click on your cube, so we want to animate it. So I want to move it back and forth. So there is a few ways to do this if you want to move something back and forth. So one way that's pretty common is to do things like programmatically. So you could write a script that says, like, move the thing based on a sine wave. And that would be pretty functional. That would do the job pretty well for this. But I think that's a little bit limiting because you need to know a math equation that describes how you want to move, and that's not always the case. So let's not do that for this one. So what we're going to do instead is use Unity System. So if you go up to the top and click on Window, and then go down to Animation, which should be, let's see, right there. Click on that. It's going to pop open a little window. I'm going to grab it and pull it down here, probably. That looks pretty good. I'm also going to move my console over again. Animation. So you want the Animation tab, not the Animator tab. They are different. You go up to Window, Animation. Cool. Everybody able to get here? Awesome. So we have this great Create button right here. So let's do it. So you're going to press Create, and it's going to ask you to make an animation. So you actually have to save them. They are files. So I'm going to go and save it. Let's see. I sort of want to save it in my assets folder, ideally. So in here, I'm probably going to save. I'm going to click New Folder. I'm going to type in and name it Animations. And then inside of this folder, you can call it Horizontal Move, Wave, Horizontal Wave. Whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. Just make sure to save it. And then you're going to get this nice timeline right here. So right now, it's not doing anything. But what we want to do, in a quick broad overview, is we want to take it, and we're actually going to be doing something called keyframe animation, for anybody who's heard that. So keyframe animation means that we take a... Is everybody good for me to erase this? Yeah? Cool. Okay. So we take something like our box, and we say, okay, at 0 seconds, we want it to be right here. And maybe at like 1 second, we want it to go and be right here. And then for everything in between, the box is just going to slowly move over to it and sort of fill in all the gaps. So this is great for us because we don't care about everything in between. We really just care about the endpoints and where everything is going to be moving. So let's go ahead and do that. So in order to do that, we have to tell Unity's animation system which properties we want to animate. So in this case, it's going to be position. So if we click Add Property, and if we go into our transform, we can click on Position. And then we'll add it right there. Cool. And we can sort of grab on the top here and scroll, and you can see that everything's in the exact same position as its job. So let's just do a quick demo of what it would look like. So if you click on this recording button right here, that's going to let us start applying things to it. So at this point, so maybe like I'll drag right in the middle at around 30 seconds or so, I'm going to take this and move it out. Maybe I'll drag it out like there or so. And then when I unclick the record button, or if I don't, you can press the play, and we can see what it would look like. So it will just move in and out, it will store its position. So I could take it right here maybe and then move it over there. We can see what that one looks like. So you can see that it has its own motion now, so you can keep setting these keyframes and making things different. So that's the basic idea. If you unpress record, it will work. And then we press play, and if we look in our scene, we'll see that it's doing what it's doing. It's using the animation that we just created, and it's animating. This is a little bit of a harsh animation, I'll admit. Maybe slow it down a little bit on your end. But actually, there's an even bigger issue outside of it being so fast, is that if I take this right here, if I take my box, I move it over here, what we'd expect is that it will animate out in the same direction it did before. Now if I press play, and I go back to the scene view, it's going to snap it back to where we animated it. So this is because it stores the exact values of position when we're animating it. So if you click on it, you can see it's going between that 41 and 51 that I set before, which just sort of sucks. It's not what we want, unfortunately, because we want to keep using this multiple times. So the way that we get around that, usually, I'm actually going to not delete this one, I guess. I'll probably delete it. It's a little bit easier. So the way that we usually get around that is we create an empty object. So I'm going to create an empty object. It's somewhere around here. So I'm going to call this animation holder. You can call it whatever you like. I'm going to press V on it and snap it down to here and just maybe drag it over to the middle so I have it nice and centered where I like it to be. Maybe drag it out one like that. So now we see we have our animation holder here, and this position is at 741. But if I go into our project and I drag that cube prototype onto the animation holder like this, it will get placed underneath it. That's the other room if you want to go there.
Thank you.
So now if we look at the position on the cube, you can see it's 0, 0, 0. Perfect. So now no matter where I move this animation holder, if I move it all the way out here, the cube is still at 0, 0, 0, which is awesome because now our animations are going to move around with wherever we move its parent. So this is great. This will mean we can do that cool wave thing that we did earlier on the demo. Question?
How do you do it? Animation holder?
It was just a create empty. So animation holder is just a name that I give to an empty game object. So I'm going to scoot down my cube too. I'm just going to pop it down so it's on the same level. Otherwise, it'll be very difficult for our player to get over it. So now if we go into animation, let's create a new one on the, so make sure you create it on the cube prototype and not the animation holder. If we do it on the animation holder, we'll run into the same issue that we did previously. So click on that, do create, and I'll say, that is nowhere near where I want to save it. I want to save it in animations. I'm going to call it new horizontal wave. Maybe make a more creative name on your end. Cool. So now this will work. So the idea with the animation with this one is to just sort of move it this way, then move it that way, then move it back to the middle. Pretty simple animation. I'm hoping you guys can sort of extend that idea to some of our own cool creations in the future. So let's go ahead and add a property like we did previously. I go in transform and then position. And it'll have these. So last time it was a 1 second animation. That was a little bit fast in my mind, so let's tone it down a bit. So in mine, I can scroll on the Mac to reveal a different sort of portion. You can also use down here, and you can grab these and move it like that. So I'm going to sort of scroll out and drag these keyframes. So I can actually go ahead and select keyframes and move them. So I'm going to move it all the way out to 12. So it's a 12-second animation. So if you remember, you can sort of zoom out, zoom in. Okay, cool. So quick bit of math for what we're going to be doing. So we want it to move like this. So we have this right here. So let's say it starts right here. We want it to go there, there, and then back to the middle. We have 12 seconds to do this, and we want it to be relatively smooth. So over the course of this 12 seconds, it needs to go here, needs to go there, and it needs to go back. So we need to divide it up so that this is sort of equal for all lengths. So the way we're going to do that is give this one 3 seconds, give this one 6 seconds, give that one 3 seconds. Does that make sense to everybody? Cool. So let's just go ahead and click on the record button right here. And then move over to 3. You can sort of eyeball it right around there-ish. You can also zoom in if you want to get it really exact like that. And now I'm going to move it over so that it just sort of touches the edge right there. Cool. If you play it right now, you'll see that it very, very slowly moves back to the center. Not exactly what we want, but it's sort of cool, I suppose. Yeah, so it does what we expect, more or less. But now I'm going to head over to 9, because that is 3 plus 6. And at this, I'm going to take it and sort of set it over to, I think it was like 3. Yeah. So I'm just going to type that one in directly, because I know that we clicked it over 3 times to get it to the other side. So we're going to have to click it over 3 times. It's easier to just type it in the situation, though. Cool. So now let's test that one out, see how that works. So it goes to the middle, goes to the left. There's a little bit of a weird thing where it sort of stops in the middle. This is something that I wanted to cover, but we might not have enough time, unfortunately. If you guys have questions about it afterwards and you want to fix that, let me know. I can go over it. I am going to be giving 30 minutes at the end for you guys all to design your own levels, and I'll be fielding questions and sort of designing a level up here too to showcase what you guys can do. So during that time, you guys can come talk to me about it and ask more. If you guys want to look ahead, if I don't get to it, it's going to be this little curves thing right here. So you can see that like when it goes down, it sort of flattens out. That's why it's slowing down. So curves versus the dope sheet.